crafty friends, and welcome to Tuesday, not quite Tuesday Live Tuesday, more of a Top Tips Tuesday, I guess. As many of you know, I am out roaming around Baja with my husband for the month of February, so I just recorded a few little videos about some kind of common topics, things I get asked about all the time, and then we have a couple of specials going on as well, so they tied in nicely together to do the two things at the same time. So today, paper handlers are on special, so I thought what a perfect time to talk about organizing paper and sort of going through the top sort of questions that people ask me about paper organization. And the first one is, should I mix my paper sizes or should I keep all the different sizes separate? And that is a personal preference option. I'm going to show you kind of both solutions here. I like to keep as much of my paper together, consolidated in a small amount of space as possible. Sometimes that means, let me backtrack a little bit. You know what I always say? Perfect is the enemy of good. So accept that straight away. There is no perfect solution. You have to work with a solution that's perfect for you or that works for you versus coming up with something that is the perfect paper solution, because it doesn't exist. There are just too many variables. So I like to keep things together as best that I can. And sometimes that means putting all the different sizes together in one paper handler, and that's 12 by 12. And sometimes it means using a variety of paper handlers. So it just depends on how much paper you have in each category. So if we're talking about rainbow, which I'll use as my example today, if you have lots of rainbow paper in all the sizes, right, as I've got right here, I've got all three box sizes because I can fill all three box sizes with rainbow paper, so it makes sense. But if all I had in 6 by 6 paper was this one little rainbow pad of paper, it would be silly to segment it off in its own paper handler. It would be a waste of space, right? The odds are that I would take my paper handler, and most of the time I'm going to store my paper handler on its back like this so I can pull the papers in and out really easily off my shelf. And then I'm just going to take those smaller sizes of paper and I'm going to integrate them right in with the big paper, and I'm still going to have access. Now, one of the keys to getting access and making this easy to pull on and on the shelf is adding a shut your flap tab to the edge of it so it'll stick out a little bit and you can pull it in and out of that box. I happen to have a shut your flap tab right here, my little secret stash. So I would just take that tab and I would add it to this paper pad, or maybe it's just a little stack of paper, and now I've got this little pull handle so I can pull it off, push it back in, right? So it's easy to pull it out even though it's a little bit smaller and it doesn't have one of the big pockets or labels. So you can totally integrate. If all I had in red 8.5 by 11 paper, it would be the same thing. I would just tuck it right in there with my reds and pinks so everything is in one place. So if you just have a small amount of paper, and this is true whether it is holiday or seasonal, this could just as easily be my my Halloween box, and I have a little bit of Halloween 8.5 by 11 and I have a little bit of Halloween 6 by 6, I would do the same thing. So it could be color, it could be theme or sentiment, birthday, it could be calendar year, Halloween, Christmas, whatever. And now I'm maximizing my space. I'm keeping the most possible things together in one place. I don't want to go looking in different places just because the paper size is different. I want to stay within my 4-section system. So if you just have a little bit of paper in a variety of sizes, I would go with the 12 by 12 storage because that's the most common size for most of us. Now, your most common size, you might not even use 12 by 12. You might be 8.5 by 11. You may only use 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 paper, and then you're, of course, going to target those sizes. So for me, I have the most paper in 12 by 12. I'm sticking with my 4-section system. Well, there's no alphabet in paper. We know that. So calendar year, themes and sentiments, and the rainbow is how it's going to go. And I'm going to group it together wherever I can. Now, if you have a bunch, as I do right here, then it's worth the space of having that extra paper handler. But you can see I've still got reds and pinks and reds and pinks. They're all together in the same area on my shelf, or in this case on a paper cart. So I know if I only need 8.5 by 11, it's accessible right there as well, right? Now, I don't have a ton of 6 by 6 rainbow paper. So in that case, I do have enough to fill a box. In that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 8.5 or the 6 by 6 paper handler, and it's just going to go right in the front of the rainbow section. This is a variety of paper, a whole rainbow of paper in 6 by 6, still easy to get to, still with the rest of the rainbow in my collection, but if I know I need 6 by 6, I can just grab that paper handler and find what I need. Now, you probably noticed in the front, I've got this 5 by 7 basics. It's all rainbow as well, right? I don't need a separate place for 5 by 7 because I've got room here. It's just all right there, but the key to it is that it's all together. It's still all in the rainbow section. So keep that in mind. You want to stay within that 4-section system. You want to work within that 4-section system because it makes it really easy to find everything and see what all your options are. Now, some of you may have noticed what I just did here. I have this red paper and I'm putting it back in the red section. And rather than trying to slide it in the back, I've just moved a couple of papers and I'm sliding it in and it just drops right in. Remember with your paper handlers, the tabs where you fold the paper handler together are inside the back of the box. So if you can keep even a single sheet of paper against that back, it's going to be much easier to slide things in and out than trying to slide them in. Sometimes they get hung up on that little tab. So just move one sheet of paper and then drop them in. That's going to make that easier right there. So for those of you who are new to paper handlers, I haven't really thought about that. It does make it simpler. Okay, so that's the first question, different sizes. The second question that I regularly get is, what about specialty papers? What about vellum and glitter and that type of thing? Those all need to stay within the sections where they belong. So if you have glitter paper or specialty papers, you want to keep them. So here's my red and pink section. I've got pink glitter paper, light pink, dark pink. Now, I did put this glitter paper in a 12 by 12 tab divider pocket. Why? Glitter paper shreds. Glitter paper sheds. So all the little glitter comes off on everything that's around it, and sometimes it'll actually just, destroy the glitter if you're sliding it in and out. So I put specialty papers. I would do the same thing with vellum or velvet or anything that's got a risk of being damaged. I would just use a 12 by 12 tab divider pocket or a paper pocket or something like that to protect that, but I'm going to keep it right in that section, right? So my brain, I'm training to look for things by color. So if I think to myself, oh, I'd like to have red glitter paper on this, I don't have to go to a separate section where there's glitter paper and then that paper is sorted by color. I can go right to red and find red and pink and find all the glitter paper that I have in that category in one place. So it's the less divisive you are with your paper, the easier it is going to be to include those papers in all of your projects, right? So okay, so specialty papers in the right category, and this would be the same. Maybe this was Christmas vellum paper with it, right? Christmas patterns on vellum, still gonna go in Christmas, right? Christmas velvets, Christmas glitters, still gonna be in Christmas. So you wanna just keep that 4-section system as active as you can and as in place as you can, because the more stuff you can get in there, the easier it's gonna be to find, the easier to use. Next common question, what about prints and patterns, right? What about things with multi-colors and double-sided? Well, so my recommendation to you is to organize your paper light to dark and then prints and patterns behind that. So light to dark, red, pink and red, and then I'm going to be behind that dots, stripes, plaids, florals, grouped together within that color. So this is going to be in pink, in the pink section, and it's going to be in dots. And you look at that and you go, Tiffany, yeah, but those dots are orange. How do you know not to put that in orange? Again, perfect is the enemy of good. So why do you love this? What's your favorite color in it? What's the color that jumps out most to you? What's the color you're most likely to use? file that paper in that category. Because the beauty of it is you're going to be able to pull out that section, right, and flip through it pretty easily, literally thumb through, and see a hint of all of those papers, and then you're going to be able to choose one. It's going to pop up and you're going to see it. And I bet most of you have enough paper that even if you misfile a few things, like if you put this in pink and then later you would think, oh, maybe that would have been better in orange, you're still going to be able to find the perfect paper for your project when you're flipping through. So don't get too hung up on the perfection. Get more, what do I like about it? Maybe why did I buy it? Was there a special purpose for it? Did I buy it for the pink? Did I buy it for the orange? And then just file it that way. Okay, so your patterns are going to all go together. You might have, I think I have distressed dots, stripes, plaids, and florals behind each of my solid color sections in my paper storage system, right? So that's kind of how I divide mine up. Then the next question is double-sided paper. Like this is obviously very different. It's mostly yellow than the pink polka dots. And ultimately what you have to decide is, where's the most likely place that I'm actually going to use that, right? So for me, this is super cute, this backside, but the odds are better the way I design and the way I work that this is going to be the side of this paper that I use. And then when I pull that out and I'm doing a layout, then at that point I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I could also use the scraps or what the other side of this at the same time in conjunction with that. So that's the beauty of double-sided paper as well. They usually work well together, occasionally not, but in general they're designed to work together. So you're going to get kind of a double bonus. You're going to be able to find that for the dots, and then when you're actually designing, you're going to probably use the other side as well because they work together. So my big point is don't get hung up on the little things. Pick what you like, file it that way. The chances are really good that when you need that paper or you want something in those colors, you're going to find it just by flipping through that section. So don't get hung up in the little stuff, because what you really want to do is you want to get hung up in the crafting stuff, right? Where you're actually having a good time crafting and finding your things. You don't want to spend all your time trying to decide where that goes. Okay, last but not least in the paper storage question, top 3 or 4 questions I get is, what about scraps? And of course, I am going to totally recommend that you store your scraps right in with your paper, again by category. So this is a scrap master. We also have paper pockets. We have the tab divider pockets. We have the collection keepers, and these are all great ways to keep your scraps together within your paper store, within your paper collection. I'm going to talk in just a second about small things, like small collections of paper. St. Patrick's Day, something that you only have 5 or 6 sheets of paper for. So before you're thinking, well, what do? I don't want a whole section for St. Patrick's Day with just 5 sheets. How do I do that? I'll talk about it in a second. Okay, so Scrap Master is a great way to organize your scraps by shape, by color. I put the smaller things in the front, the bigger things in the back, so I get a hint of what they are. When this Scrap Master is full, I am done storing red and pink scraps, right? You don't want to have multiple Scrap Masters. You don't want to have multiple things to go through for scraps. You want to pick a minimum size. So for me, the minimum size that I'm going to keep is going to be 12 inches long, and preferably at least 2 or 3 inches high, right? Maximum use of that. I try not to keep any really thin, small strips. Beyond that, I'm looking for at least 4 by 6 and probably 6 by 6 for storing scraps, because they're the most useful. Now, before some of you get a stomach ache about keeping scraps and what size to keep, that's a personal preference thing. Right? I don't want to spend my time digging through scraps to think, oh, I found the perfect one, and then pull it out and it's too small. I have enough paper, as I bet most of you do, that if I crafted a little bit every day for the rest of my life, I'd never use it up. So I try to keep bigger scraps with one caveat. If it's a specialty paper, something unique, then I'm going to keep the smaller scraps. So this is red glitter paper and pink glitter paper scraps on the other side. They are smaller than my minimum. They're also very messy glitter paper, so I've put them separately into their own pocket. This is one of our Kiwi Lane organizer pockets, so it's, you know, a little longer than 12 inches, 6 inches high. So I just separated those out in here so that they wouldn't shed on everything else, and they would be a little bit more protected as well. And then I'm just going to put that pocket right here into my Scrap Master, which works like a file folder, and I've got all of those things together in one place. Super simple. And I'm going to store it right here in with the reds and pinks in my paper handler, and now everything is together. If I need red and pink scraps, I can pull that out and use it. Same thing with any other category. So you may have a Christmas scraps, Scrap Master, or a travel scraps, Scrap Master, whatever category it is that you work with when you have a lot of paper. Okay, so now I'm going to back up to what I was sort of mentioning about St. Patrick's Day. There are categories of paper that you will not have a ton of paper for. St. Patrick's Day for me, I have 6 or 8 sheets of St. Patrick's Day paper. I do not need a section in my paper handlers for St. Patrick's Day because I use a scrap rack. So I'm going to go to my scrap rack section for St. Patrick's Day, and all of my St. Patrick's Day paper is going to be right there in the scrap rack in a 12 by 12 scrap rack pocket page, so that the embellishments, the stickers, the rub-ons, all the things I have for St. Patrick's Day and the paper are right there in one place. That is ideal. You cannot do that if you're a paper junkie. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to put all of this red and pink paper into my scrap rack because I would just have scrap racks full of paper. So I use the same 4-section system with paper handlers so I can get to them and they make sense to me, but I'm not storing all that paper in the scrap rack. Smaller categories, you definitely just want to put it in your scrap rack. So again, with the St. Patrick's Day scraps of paper, I'm not going to use a Scrap Master for those. I'm just going to use another scrap rack page and put those scraps right in the scrap rack in that section. So I hope that makes sense. Ultimately, what I'm trying to create is a system where I have the easiest access to the most supplies that make the most sense mentally, right? That I can get to those quickly and easily. So in terms of paper handlers, we've got the 3 sizes. We've got the 6 by 6, the 8.5 by 11, A4 also, so it's tall enough for A4, and then the 12 by 12. And all of them, as you know, have the pull-up handles, which is what makes them a paper handler that way. So they're easy to travel with. Another common question I get is, will this fit in my lowest tote? And absolutely, the 12 by 12 will fit in your lowest tote. So by default, the other sizes will as well. So if you want to take paper with you, the 12 by 12 paper handler is going to work in your lowest tote also. Okay, my crafty friends, that is the scoop, the tips and tricks I have for you today on paper storage and organization. If you need paper handlers, today is the day to buy them because they're on special on the website. So pop on over there and get what you need while you can save a few bucks as well. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm sorry I'm not with you live, but I will be back after March 1st, and we will be back on the Tuesday Tribe, Tuesday Live, and we will be starting the Get Organized Challenge. That is going to be, I believe, the 22nd of March will be the kickoff for the next Get Organized Challenge. So mark your calendars for that as well. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you when I get back from Baja. Take care.